morning. Good morning. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are so thrilled to be talking about something that's been super impactful for small businesses and is going to continue because we're still waiting on some guidance on this and when it's going to go into effect. So we are joined here today by Katie Wendland of Human Interest. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie. I know that you're going to be a wealth of knowledge on this topic about this, the Secure Act for 401k and IRA retirement programs for small businesses to offer to their employees. That will soon be a requirement. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and what you do and what your superpower is in this community?
Absolutely. Yeah, my name is Katie Wendland. I am with Human Interest. We are a 401k provider, which is a record keeper and third-party administrator. So what do we do? Well, we keep up with like the IRS compliance. So we help small businesses offer employee benefits around the 401k arena. We make sure that your employees are able to not only have a way to save for retirement, but to not only have another retention tool as the employer. So that's what we do. IRS compliance, we stay in compliance for the employer, and we help actually roll out the entire 401k plan. So very different from a financial advisor piece. We actually do all the back office work. And my job with the company is to keep up to date with these state and federal regulations, including state mandates that are coming out, such as the Colorado Secure Savings Program and the Secure Act.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so happy that you're joining us because like you and I were talking about, so many small business employers don't even know that this is coming at them towards the end of the year, right? Implementation is coming up. So, but that's also really important is the why behind it, right? So why is retirement savings so important for employees and the public right now?
That is a great question. Well, according to the Social Security Administration, there's been a survey that they put out, and right now it's trending. Social Security, the reserves are literally depleting at a rapid pace. So that does not mean Social Security is going to go away, but by 2035, what's going to be able to be paid out is what's going in. So it's very detrimental now that everybody in every type of industry should start saving towards retirement, because Social Security is only going to be paying out roughly 79% of the benefit. And I'm not sure about you, but a lot of people cannot afford to live on 79% of their income after taxes and everything else. So that's what's happening is we're in a small retirement crisis, and we're trying to help educate employers and employees on financial wellness and which is another reason why these state mandates are coming down the pipeline. The government's trying to find a way to fix this gap.
It's such a huge impact. And I mean, even if it wasn't 79% of the benefit, typically with the cost of living in Colorado Springs and some other areas, even with 100% of the benefit, it's not necessarily something you can live on and be really comfortable. I mean, you're still scrimping and saving and, couponing or whatever you're doing, spending your time, but you're not, out on a boat and enjoying your retirement and loving life. So, I mean, these retirement savings are incredibly important. And we've seen so many generations that have been retiring that just can't support themselves, and they're still working, and it's heartbreaking, and it shouldn't happen. So I know this is really a tough pill for small businesses to swallow. This comes in addition to the Healthy Families and Workplaces Act that requires paid sick time, and there's a lot of these benefits rolling out, and small businesses are still recovering from the pandemic. And so this is a lot, but ultimately, I mean, as an economy and having access to these benefits, I think there's gonna be a lot of people that are better off for it. So plus it makes small businesses a little bit more competitive, right? You don't have to worry about not offering benefits. You've already got them. So, okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the legislation that has been coming down and what that looks like now, because I know we're still waiting on some additional information, but do you want to start with, what is this overall going to look like? What are they trying to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to start, Colorado is a 13th state so far in the nation that has passed the state requirement a mandate that's requiring small businesses to offer retirement benefit to their employees. There's 30 more states currently in legislation to pass this. By 2028. Every state in our nation will be having some sort of mandated retirement benefit that is going to be pushed down to the employer. So for Colorado specifically, it's what this legislation's about is 5 W-2 employees or more. So if you're an employer that has 5 W-2 employees or more, including part-time at 1,000 hours or more a year, are going to be mandated by the state of Colorado to do one of two things. If they're not currently offering a 401k or a simple IRA, they're going to be mandated to either enroll in the state's program, the Colorado Secure Savings Program, or into an outside benefit of their choice, like a 401k or a simple IRA, to stay in compliance.
Okay, so what if they currently do have a program? Are there going to be certain requirements on what that program needs to look like?
Yes. So if you already are offering a 401k, a 403b, or you are in a federal government type business and you have a 457 in place, or you are offering some type of a SEP IRA where you're matching your employees, you're already covered. You're covered. You don't have to worry about this mandate. Does not impact you. It is going to be impacting someone that does not currently offering any type of retirement benefits that allows your employees to deduct from their paychecks and contribute to a retirement fund.
Okay, wonderful. So small businesses, if you are listening and you don't currently offer a plan, stay on with us because we are going to talk about a little bit more what you need to know as far as implementation. So it sounds like we're coming up on a deadline. They're still trying to figure out what the state program, how those details are going to work. What is that deadline and when can small businesses anticipate implementation?
Great question. So it was supposed to be July. It did get moved back to September, and recently now looking like it's going to be moved back to December. So the state is going to have a couple fun lineups ready for their program by middle of September. The next board meeting is in September, and I will be listening in on that to be able to grab more information to share with everyone else. But as of right now, it's looking like potentially December. They've not pushed anything into January. They want to try to get it rolled out this year because there's also some additional tax incentives that through the Secure Act that will be rolling out with them. And that's why they're trying to get this together. But businesses should not be waiting, just so you know. They should not wait to the mandate, because once that happens, every business that does not have it is going to be contacting us and everyone else that offers something to try to figure out what they need to do. And they're going to be drinking through a fire hose, and they're not going to get the type of time or the attention they need. They need to be looking at this now. Even if they don't launch it till later, they need to be considering a retirement benefit now, because they're going to have to do it anyways.
Absolutely. And we've been talking the same thing about the paid sick time. It's better to have your ducks in a row than to last minute try to implement this under the wire, right? That's a lot of stress. And then it's taking your attention away from your business and your employees and what you need to be doing. So I 100% agree, looking at plans now and being prepared. So I imagine some of the questions that are circling around people's minds are, okay, so the state is going to offer this mandated program that I can just opt into. That sounds fairly easy, or I can try to maneuver this myself. What are the pros and cons to both options?
Okay, so let me start with pros, talking from a small business owner perspective. A lot of business owners aren't currently offering something because to them it's expensive, or they can't afford to match, or it's too much paperwork, it's cumbersome. So with both programs, you can either do the state enrollment program. So the state's offering a Roth IRA. So it's post-tax. So there's no pre-tax benefits to the employees or the employer. Now, the employer does not have to match, but they're not going to integrate with their payroll either. What does that mean to small business? Well, they're going to be spending more time. They're going to be paying somebody, so they'll be spending more money on having to manually process contributions from payroll into their employee's IRA. Now, every employee is going to be auto-enrolled so far, starting at 5% of their income. And every employee that's eligible will be auto-enrolled. The employer is responsible to do that. And then you have such something like a 401k, where you can go out and we can shop 401k providers. And with the 401k, you have a lot more fun flexibility. The businesses keep control over their employees. Now, they get to offer a benefit, but they also don't have to match until they're ready. So the benefit to that is they're still able to offer a benefit. Now they have the option of traditional and Roth. So traditional is pre-tax. So if you have an employee that makes $30,000 and over a year's time they put away $10,000, the employee is only paying on that $30,000 income, and so is the employer. So it reduces the tax liability for the business. And so you can also have higher contributions amount with a 401k versus the state's program, which is an IRA. And the employees do not have an option in plan design or the employer, where on the 401k side, they do. So there's a lot more pros to 401k. The business owner has to control. Business owner can also say, I don't want to offer it to my part-time employees. Now, unfortunately, if they don't do it this year, effective January 1, they are going to have to no matter what. If they go the state plan or a 401k, you are now going to be mandated effective January to have to offer a retirement benefit to your part-time. If you sign up in this year, 2021, you are grandfathered in. So you now have a lot more control on, hey, I don't want to offer it to my part-time employees until they've been with me for 3 years, something like of that nature. So they have a lot more flexibility in plan design.
Okay, so it sounds like there's definitely a lot more benefits in planning ahead and opting in early. You had mentioned tax incentives, and I heard something about a grant program for businesses between 5 employees and 25 employees. Do you know any more about that?
I don't as of right now, but that's supposed to be rolling out in January. It's still in the legislation to speak, but it's supposed to be a tax credit to incentivize businesses of that size to go outside of the state program. So these grants and these incentives are so that business is offered through their companies, an employer offered benefit. They're not going to get a grant. They're not going to get any tax credits if they enroll in the state program. State program is the state's offering it to their employees at this point through the employer's payroll, not the employer.
Okay, well, that's great information to have, because I'm sure that's a big question for people too. Okay, wonderful. So I also read something about and I know you've talked about this before, the phasing. So can we talk a little bit more? So right now, this bill is focused on small businesses with 5 employees or more. This is going to impact all employers in those brackets. But it sounds like there's a phased in rollout for a certain amount of employees. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the mandate really goes after, for Colorado, 5 W-2 employees up to 500 employees. The state's going to go after the larger sum first, the bigger wells, because they want to get the larger companies that aren't offering, maybe call centers, large restaurant chains that might not be a public franchise, but they have 5 or 6 locations. So that's going to be phase 1. So they're going to have phases, around 250 to 500 employees. If you're in that range, that's phase 1. They're talking about 3 to 6 months, they go, and there's the second phase. So being the 13th state, we're closest to the Oregon's program. And so every 4 to 6 months, they phase down. So they're saying, okay, for the next 6 months, these larger businesses have to do it. Now we're going to go down from 250 down to 100. And then they're going to go 99 down to 50, then 49 down to 5. So under 50 is going to be the last phase. And the state's not sure if they're going to do it within a 1-year period or a 2-year period. Most states are doing 18 months to 24 months to ensure that everybody has time to get enrolled, but that's still not a reason for businesses to wait.
Okay. And I wanted that information. Thank you for sharing that. Like Katie is telling you guys, there are incentives to not waiting. There's definitely more benefit to jumping on it now. And, we're in August, we have a few more months before things really hit the fan. And this becomes mandatory, and then you lose some of those incentives. So highly recommend you looking at that now. So Can you tell me a little bit more about how you support small businesses in these kind of programs and the benefit to offering going with a service like yours?
Great. That's a great question. Yeah. So human interest is, we were started for small business. The founders in general, two small business owners, and they were out looking for benefits to compete against some of their larger competitors. And they found that 401k was very cumbersome, it was expensive, it was confusing, nobody was financially savvy, and they needed to come up with something that could help small business. So they started Human Interest. So Human Interest is built for small business in mind. So what our company does and how my team helps is we educate on the differences between the state mandate and a 401k or a 403b if you're a nonprofit, and figure out what's going to be a better program for you and your type of business. We also partner with financial advisors if you need in-person wellness, financial wellness for your employees. But my team really makes it literally hands off. We automate everything, so we're paperless. We handle all the fiduciary responsibilities, the IRS filings. We are a bundled solution. So a traditional 401k provider is a financial advisor that has to hire a record keeper, that has to hire a TPA. So you have three different people that you're dealing with, three different people that you have to pay, that nobody communicates with each other. Nobody wants to start a plan. So we were created and we're a bundled solution. So we have a robo advisor built into the system, or a record keeper and a TPA. So the small business can deal with one company that does everything, not having multiple bills. If they have a question or their employees have a question, they have one point of contact. So we make it very easy to offer a benefit, very affordable and very automated.
That's nice, because that's, with the shortage in manpower and skilled labor right now, so many employers are struggling to fill roles. So a lot of times what it's coming down to is just automation. And even without a labor shortage, it is really important, in order to be efficient and to maximize your workforce and your bottom line, to automate where you can. And then the more you can take off of your plate, the more it frees you up to actually run your business. So that's wonderful. And how great is it to have someone that they can come to you, Katie, and ask questions and say, well, I don't know how to do this, or my employee was asking about this and I don't really know the answer. I mean, would they have, with the state program, would they have access to anyone like that if they wanted to ask questions?
No one's asked me that. That is a great question. And I don't think anybody's addressed that. I doubt it. I mean, have you dealt with the state before? I mean, have you
Yes.
ever had to call the state, and how many times, how lucky are you to get to somebody the first time? So the state did hire a financial firm, but again, that financial firm has four people in it, right? So if you're going to get thousands of businesses that are enrolled in the plan, how long until your employee gets a response? What is that going to look like? We don't know, but I'm sure it's not going to be pretty dealing with the state.
Absolutely. They can be a good resource for certain things if you have the time to wait. And they're not going to be as personable or understand your specific circumstance, your business, how your employees are, your culture. They're not going to understand things like that. If you have someone on your side, like you, Katie, I mean, you have that understanding, you have that relationship with your clients. You stop by our office all the time, and with donuts. Is the state going to bring you donuts?
Exactly. And one thing too is hardship loans. That's a big deal. And with IRAs, you cannot take a hardship loan from an IRA. You have to take a distribution. So now you're paying a penalty and you're paying taxes on it. Whereas with like a 401k, if you have an employee that has their car broke down and they happen to have money in their savings because maybe their credit isn't the same, maybe they don't have the money in their bank account, but their 401k is there. Hardship loans are there to help. And that's something that I can educate them on, where the state says, oh, I'm sorry, we just don't do those. They don't give them another option. They don't put them in the right direction. So having a go-to person like Human Interest, like Katie, like myself, I can give you those type of differences. Like, well, what type of employees do you have? Like, do you see something like this happening? Because this is definitely the route you're going to want to go. You want to help your employee get their car fixed so they can go to work. Where if their only option is a state program, they're not going to be able to pull those assets without paying the penalties at the end of the year and the taxes. Is that really helping them? Now they're taking money from their retirement benefits, whereas a 401k, they take it as a loan and now they're paying themselves back into the loan with interest.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought up education because I think that's incredibly important. I know a lot of small business owners don't have retirement savings themselves because if they did at one point, or maybe they haven't started, a lot of the money goes back into the business. You're bootstrapping, you're trying to run your business, and you just kind of forget about some of those basics. So I think the majority of even the business owners will benefit from having this sort of plan, some sort of retirement savings. So, as far as education, I mean, what are some of those opportunities in the way that you support your clients? Do you do like classes, or do you just go on site as needed? What does that look like?
So, well, Human Interest is a national-based company, but we do not have financial advisors in-house. We're built for small business. We keep it simple and automated. A lot of small businesses, blue collar, for instance, a lot of them say, I don't want, my employees are not interested in education, but they would be interested in something online, maybe a webinar on education. A lot of people don't like to come up front and say, I do not understand finances, I don't understand savings, because they're a little embarrassed about it. So we can do a couple of different things. We can do online webinars, education. We have a learning center built in. If the business owner wants somebody to come and actually do employee wellness in their workplace, I partner with a lot of amazing financial advisors here in Colorado and Colorado Springs that I could connect that business owner with that can come out and do financial wellness in their office for them.
Okay, so they definitely have access to education from anywhere, and so do their employees. And I know I've read some of your blogs, and they're very informative. So that's wonderful. And I know that you guys you track all this legislation. You send out newsletters through Human Interest that provide a lot of great information as well. So that's wonderful.
I post on Alignable, I post on LinkedIn. So for those that are watching, you can also follow me there if you want to see some of the blogs and posts, or you can message me directly if you have a specific question or you might have missed a blog. And I'm happy to share those with you or answer your questions. And one thing you asked earlier that I did not touch on when we were talking about tax incentives is if a business opens up a 401k or a simple IRA this year, because the state program obviously doesn't have that tax incentive piece, they can get up to $15,000 in tax credits, which is it's about up to $5,000 a year every year for the next 3 years. And if they choose to auto enroll their employees can opt out within 30 days. But if they auto enroll their employees into a 401k, they get an additional $500 tax credit. So when you're talking about costs, it's pretty much a wash for a small business under 50 employees to offer a retirement benefit without even having to match. They're going to get a wash, a tax credit, or with the state program, they don't. And you can have the ability to integrate with payroll. Human Interest integrates with 80 different payroll companies, small, even QuickBooks Online. No 401k provider will do that in the small business space. That's why we came about, was to fill the gap, to truly automate it. Because if you don't have automation, it's a pain. And so if we create automation, now they get all these tax incentives. They get to sit back, relax, and really enjoy the benefit of having a 401k, retaining their employees, checking the box with the state. And then as they grow, they're paying extra taxes, as you would know, with BRW tax. Brian, there is business owners, like you mentioned, are not saving. They think, I'm going to have this business for 20 years and then I'm going to sell it and that's my retirement. Well, the problem with that, businesses are up and down. And every year you're having to pay taxes one way or another. So there's ways to get around that. And a 401k is a better option a lot of the time over a SEP IRA and a regular IRA. So we can talk about that another time as well.
Right. No, that's a great point. Those incentives are incredible, and that there's been a lot of incentives over the last year, tax credits and grants. And if you didn't participate in them, I mean, that's a huge difference. It was a huge impact to your bottom line. So I think anytime that's an option, it's a great business decision to take advantage of it. I mean, you might as well, right? That's money that you're never going to have access to again. So that's a great point. I love that. We have a couple questions that have been coming through here. So What if an employee does not want to participate? I thought I heard you say they must contribute 5%.
Correct. So they are auto enrolled. They will be able to opt out. That is still in discussion. It's very confusing. The lingo right now, the state says they're able to opt out once within a 2-year period. Does that mean they're going to get auto enrolled back in? I do not know. That's hopefully we'll have that discussion in September when the board meets back together. I can submit that question. But as of right now, they can opt out. They're not going to force everybody into it. But let's say you have 5 employees and 4 of them do not want to do the program. They want to opt out. But there you have 1 employee that wants to stay in. Now you're on the hook to do the manual work, contributions, every single payroll one for that 1 employee. But yes, they are going to be able to opt out. However, the state's going to do something to try to opt them back in at a certain point. Then they'll have a chance to opt out once again. But I think the state's going to make it a longer period because the whole idea is they want the employees to experience the out of sight, out of mind. What is it going to feel like having money from your paycheck just taken out and contributed? Now it starts at 5%. But the employee can lower that without having to opt out down to 1% of their paycheck. But every year, it's going to go up 1% automatically with the state program.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for addressing that. We also have one more question. Do you integrate with Gusto?
We do.
Okay. Yes, Jade, they do. And if you guys have questions, please be submitting them because we have access to Katie right now. And, this is a prime opportunity to ask us burning questions that you have about this program. What else do small business owners need to know about this program or the benefits of offering retirement plan savings and that financial wellness for their employees?
Great question. So financial wellness in the workplace is most needed right now. I mean, look at the economy. It's growing, it's thriving. However, businesses are struggling getting employees in. And employees of all ages are always like, well, what do I want? What do I want? 401k is the second most requested benefit if the employer is matching specifically. So if you're a business owner that is making income at the end of the year, you're paying business taxes, way you can give back to your employees through profit sharing. Take the money you'd be paying in taxes and put it into your employees' 401k. That's a way to reduce your tax liability. But when it comes to other things you really need to know about employee wellness and financial wellness is education. It's not being taught in schools. And so how do we educate them? Well, why not have an educational day where we bring in lunch and have an advisor or somebody come in and speak about it to your employees? You'll have a lot of questions. Have a Q&A. Because the more you can be a value add to your employees, the more important your employees are going to think of your company and of you as a boss caring about their financial wellness and about their retirement savings. I know a lot of these young 20, 25, 30-year-olds may not think about retirement right now. However, they need to. And the reason they're not is because they're not educated. And in Colorado, the average person that's retiring has less than $50,000 saved. Okay, so think about what you make today. Can you afford to live on $50,000? Well, now you're living on state assistance. And what is that lifestyle going to look like for your employees? And your kids are employees. They're the next in line. So think about it from that perspective is, can you afford not to have financial wellness in the workplace? Would you want your kids to have that kind of knowledge from their employer? You should probably do it to your employees because they're some of your biggest assets.
Absolutely. And I think just a few years ago, financial wellness was a huge driver in the benefits space and employee engagement. I mean, employees were asking for this. They were begging for the education because they don't get it anywhere else, especially when you do have those younger ones. We had, when we were working in a construction company, we had apprentices that would be, doing overtime, and they were working on certain kinds of projects where they got extra pay, and they based that on, okay, well, now I can afford to buy this, $50,000 GMC truck. And then when the overtime ended, or, they weren't on these projects anymore, they were in serious trouble and they couldn't afford their bills. And then it becomes a problem at work. So the financial wellness aspect is huge, and it is a great benefit to your employees. They will be asking for it. And it does help you be a little bit more competitive in your offerings. If, with the cost of living and people job hopping for $1 right now, the market's insane. If you can offer some of these other supportive benefits, financial wellness and mental health seems to be the kind of surpassed financial wellness recently for obvious reasons. That seems to be a big factor. If you can offer these things and truly make your employees feel heard and valued and saying, I want to help you and support you in all areas of your life, how much more loyal are they going to be to your business and work that much harder for you? This is definitely a positive for small businesses.
It is. And going back to financial wellness, it's really affordable. Some businesses think they just think, medical, dental, vision, 401k. They're all definitely pieces. However, what about a workout app? Maybe Calm. As an employer, a small business employer, you can offer mental and health wellness by maybe purchasing a Calm app for your employees, or AppDev, which is at-home workout app, or, gosh, if they, rebuild your credit, there's apps for that. As an employer, you get bigger discounts. If you say, I have 5 or 10 employees and I want to offer this. So if you say, hey guys, if I offer you this app, if I offer you that, you might be paying $10 a month, $15 a month per employee. It's affordable. You're giving them something that they probably have anyways, but you're paying for it. It's going to be a lot better. And now you care about them, from their financial wellness to their health, and giving them that time to themselves. And that Calm app, I'm just saying, I'm not soliciting, I don't sell Calm, but it's a great app. I use it. My company pays for it, and it's phenomenal. It's a great benefit. So mental health and wellness go alongside with financial wellness, and small businesses need to think outside the box on what employees want. And everything's in the app form. Everything's electronic. Everything's on our phone. We're on our phone throughout the day. So you can also give them something other than the mandate piece to really help value them.
Absolutely. Well, and knowing your resources. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And the Calm app is wonderful, and it has been highly recommended. And that's the way, small businesses are. Like, we bootstrap, we get creative. If we want to offer, benefits, and maybe we can't offer a full-fledged health program and an HRA, but what we can do is offer these things that still matter to your employees, but are minimal investments on the employer side. So yeah, thank you, Katie, for talking to us today about all this. If you guys have any more questions, please post them in the comments. Also, please share the love. I'm sure Katie and I were just talking, there's so many business owners that do not know about this mandate, that do not offer retirement savings plans for their employees. Please share this video with them. We'll be posting this on our Facebook and our YouTube later, and spread the education. So help us do that. Again, if you have any questions or comments, or you want to get a hold of Katie, you can leave them in the comments. We will get to them as soon as we can. Katie, do you want to tell them where to find you if they want to contact you about setting up a retirement savings program for their employees?
Yeah, you can find me on Alignable, on LinkedIn, or you could email me at Katie. And maybe you can put that into the inbox, into the comments section, katie.wendland, WENDLAND @humaninterest.com, because we care about people.
You do, and you've been a wonderful support. Katie was the one that came to us with this a while back and educated on this when it wasn't really even on our radar at that point. And we've been watching it ever since. And she's been such a great resource and so knowledgeable about this, and just a great help to small businesses. So please, if you're thinking about implementing this, or you just want to know more and you want to start looking into those tax incentives and be positioned to benefit from some of these incentives, please contact Katie and start asking those questions now, so you're not waiting until the final day.
No one wants to wait to the last minute, because it's going to be a fire drill, and business owners don't have the time to have to really be on the phone all day to deal with that then. So now's a good time to start asking those questions for sure.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Katie. I appreciate you joining us, and I'm glad that you were able to join us in the facility. If you notice anything familiar behind Katie, she is in our conference room today, so we're happy to have her on site and give a tour of our facility. So thank you, Katie, for educating the small business community with us on this. All right, guys, like I said, share the love, post comments or questions if you have them, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.